Okay, folks, Andrew Bobros here. Well, I'm going to do a video on the speculation of potential wide receivers that we could trade for before the trade deadline. And again, I bring this up largely because I do think this is a big part of the problem that we're having right now with Justin Herbert. Passing yards are down. I just think there's some issues there. Now, again, I do think that there's an opportunity that Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz might put something together and make something happen before the trade deadline to get a little more firepower for Justin Herbert this year. So we shall see. A lot to discuss and unpack. Let's
Bull Bros.
Okay, folks, as always, like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. I'm Andrew Bobros. And again, I do think there is some merit to this discussion. I don't really believe that I go back and forth on this. There's parts of me that thinks that we are going to trade for somebody. There's parts of me that thinks we probably are not going to trade for somebody. Now, the reason why if this was a Tom Telesco or Ron Tabasco era, I would say not a shot in hell, not going to happen. But since we got this man right here at the helm, Mr. Ortiz, baby, he is doing as deals as he possibly can. At the end of the day, we need some firepower. Now, you can make the argument, well, we got Brennan Rice, we got these other players, right? I agree. I even think there's even people on our team right now that we can just start plugging and playing a little more as well, too. Who knows, right? So there's a lot to discuss on that as well. We'll save that for another video, but let's just talk about some of the trade rumors that this man might go after to see if we can add a little extra oomph, a little extra firepower, a little extra juice to get us over the hump and potentially make us into the playoffs. And, who knows where we go from there. But let's talk about some of the major elephants in the room. Well, the first one is Davante Adams. Okay. I'm just going to say this. There is not a snowball's chance in hell we're going to get Davante Adams. Now, I will say this. Jorties has to at least make a call to the Raiders. Hey, Tom Tabasco, Ron Tabasco, whatever he wants to call him. Hey, man, you interested? We'd like to trade for, Davante. Every team in the NFL, all 32 teams are going to ask, or not 32, 31 teams are going to try and get him. Bottom line, he's that kind of player. But here's the thing, guys. Think about this right now. He's 32 next year. And do $36 million, which the Raiders are definitely not going to pay. So he might have a hard time even getting dealt off, guys, right? I struggle with what they're going to get, right? So you got to go to a team that has money available. And I was trying to look at over the cap on this just the other day. Let's see if I can find it here. Cap space. Niners, Browns, Patriots. Whew, not a lot of teams got that much money available to really go. Well, the Jets maybe. So my point is, he wants to leave. Clearly he wants to leave, right? I think, the argument is Gardner Minshew he's a bridge QB. We all know that, right? They're probably going to get a quarterback right out of the gate this next season in the draft. My point is, you can see why he wants to get traded, but at the end of the day, it's a problem. But again, the Raiders don't really need him. Oh, I shouldn't say that. They do need any team is better to have him than not, but you got Jacoby Myers, your first round, and then Brock Bowers. They got plenty of weapons, right? They can make it work, especially with a backup QB. But what would you get for him, though? With that much money on the table, it's like, man, he's 32. I wouldn't trade for him personally. And I promise you the Chargers won't because of this. If you remember this, we ripped on him so hard. And I tell you what, this guy flipped out. I don't know if you know, but he's suing us currently right now, the Chargers organization. I believe there was I think it was 3 or 4 months ago, I saw that he's suing the Chargers. There's no chance in hell that we are going to get him or he will agree to come to us. Now, if I had to make a choice, you put a gun to my head, Andrew, who's he going to? Well, that was great. That was good timing. I would say he's probably going to go to the Jets. It makes a lot of sense. Or maybe the Saints, 2 quarterbacks that he's worked with in the past. That's what a lot of the supposed experts are saying. So anyways, this one's an interesting one to discuss. I don't think it's even relevant information for the Chargers, but that's just my take on it. Moving on to some other wide receivers we might go after. This one I think is interesting, and it does make some sense. I personally still think we won't do it, but DeAndre Hopkins, Tennessee is a bit of a dumpster fire. I don't expect them to do much this year. The quarterback has looked poor, to say the least, which maybe because he likes Mayo so much, right? But, Will Levis has not looked that great, right? But again, it's Hopkins, man. He's getting older. It's expensive. It's kind of like the same conversation with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. At the end of the day, you'd like to have them, but at a reasonable price. So I just don't see us going after Hopkins, but I do think that might work out. Now, I will say this: the other Tennessee wide receiver that would make a little more sense is Treylon Burks. I think Burks is not bad, right? I think Treylon Burks has looked pretty good. He's young, and that's really the benefit with him specifically, right? So a lot of people talk about Treylon Burks, right? So he hasn't really found his footing. He's a young wide receiver, but again, he's a work in progress. You're like, well, do you want to trade for a guy like that? Especially if it's a 1-year deal. I mean, you want like an explosive player. And again, I'll just say this right out of the gate, guys. When we talk about this, I just think even mid-season trades like this are very difficult because, especially on the offensive side of the ball, because you have to get a synergy with the quarterback and the wide receiver. So if you're doing a 1-year trade, I feel like you're going to give up a lot to get not much because it's hard to insert somebody like that in the system. So I don't know. And again, Hopkins is in his final year of his contract. I don't know, but he's been one of the best trade assets for the Titans that they currently have. So if they are going to dismantle before the deadline, these two would probably be two people we could potentially target, but who knows, right? We sign them. We release him, could get a comp pick. You never really know how that plays out as well, too. So, again, Joe Ortiz, we know, likes comp picks. So even if you think he could potentially help for a short while for this season, you release him at the end of the year, we get a comp pick anyways, might be the same value, if not, better value than what we gave away to the other organization, right? So, there's some strategies involved in this, guys, right? So anyways, I think there is something to be said. But I mean, again, guys, agree or disagree with me. Is it worth it for us to do these midseason trades? In my opinion, the answer is no. But what are your thoughts? Leave a comment down below. Another guy, Christian Kirk. I've never been a real fan of this guy. I think he was extremely overpaid for Jacksonville, but Jacksonville's winless. They look terrible. Shockingly look terrible. I'm still a little bit baffled. I watched this last game and I was like, what's going on with Lawrence? He looks horrible. I mean, not to be harsh, but a lot of people would say the same thing about Justin Herbert. But he's in the same system he's been in for 2 years now. This is going on his 3rd year, so he shouldn't be this bad, right? So, the argument I think for Justin Herbert is that he's in a new system, 4th system he's had since he's been in the league. So, and a run first offense, but going back to, Christian Kirk, he's a slot receiver, which is good, but again, that's really where we're probably going to put Ladd McConkey long-term. So I don't know that he's really the right person. And $15 million in 2024 compensation. Ooh, it's a lot of money. That's a lot of cheddar. I don't think so. So to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. But again, I do think it's interesting to have this conversation. But I do think the Jags are still wanting to win games, and they might be able to think they can turn it around. Who knows? I don't know, man. I just think Christian Kirk's kind of an interesting one, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Interesting one from the Patriots here. Kendrick Bourne. I didn't really know much about this guy, but I kept learning more and more about him. I think he's interesting, right? He came up in trade talks in August. He's a veteran. He's coming back from the PUP list from New England, right? And they extended Bourne last season, but a lot of people were, asking to get him. He could be a decent mid-year pickup. I don't know, but I don't. I think he's worth watching, but there's something to be said about him specifically, and a lot of people seem to be high on him. So I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. Another guy that I think the Texans could dump is Minchie. Am I saying that right? John Mechie, wide receiver. I like him probably more than just about anybody on those lists right now, and I would say the reason why is because the Texans are a competitive team, but he's buried on the Texas receiving core, right? And, he's been a healthy scratch for 3 weeks, hasn't not played, probably not going to have the same type of rotation that he has. So he's a player that's kind of lost in translation in a certain way. You could probably get him pretty cheap, right? He's still on his rookie contract through 2025. So the Texans could keep him, but, could be a good ship to go get another pick for next season, right? If you think, hey, we're good to go. I like him. I think he's a good pickup. He and another guy here at the end of this list probably are my 2 biggest choices for this because I don't think we're going to go get an expensive vet. I don't think we're going to get an expensive veteran. I think we're going to get a younger player that we think we can, grow within our system, or someone we think can make some splash plays. But Mechie's a good one, right? He's still young, rookie contract. He would be a chip on his shoulder, staying in Houston because, again, he's had no love there so far, right? He's not played. We'll see what happens with that. But I think John Mechie might not be a bad one. 2 from the Giants, right? And I think this is sort of a situation for our boy doing so well, the rookie. Why am I drawing a blank on his name all of a sudden? But Darius Slayton, and then I'll talk about Jalen Hyatt as well too. But Darius Slayton, I think, is actually a really good choice, right? Final year of his contract, could be an interesting choice. I think a lot of people want to dump him off as much as you possibly can, get some value for him now in his last year of his contract. Again, I don't think he's really a good choice for us because I don't know that he really is going to help us out at all this season. But he has a deep threat role. That's a big part of what he does. And the Chargers don't really have that right now. DJ Chark is nowhere to be seen. Quinton still hasn't really proven he can be the deep threat guy, but Slayton could be, right? So, but the guy that I do like, the guy that I do like is Jalen. Oh, sorry. I switched this. This is Jalen Hyatt and Slayton. So we already talked about Slayton. My bad, guys. Here's Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt is the guy that I like the most. So let's just sit back on that, boy. Flop those back and forth. But again, Jalen Hyatt is a youngster. He's very new to the league, right? I think he just had his first 100-yard game, just barely, right? So, there's not a lot of clear snaps for Hyatt. So, bottom line, you could say, hey, look, he might not be a bad guy you could trade off because he's still, in a lot of other teams' eyes, very high in the draft. They couldn't get him. The Giants have him. They have kind of a loaded room. Why not dump him off, get some picks, move from there? But again, there's a lot of choices there. Now, I personally think that we most likely won't make any moves as far as the wide receiver rooms are concerned. We do have quite a few wide receivers on this team, right? I do think that we'll probably just put someone like Rice in or some of these other players. But there's some other positions that I was thinking about talking about as well, too, guys. I was thinking about talking about the offensive line. I was thinking about the defensive side of the ball, maybe even a tight end specifically. Would you like me to do a video maybe next week going into our game versus the Broncos, talking about the other people that that I think we could go after? But I just wanted to do a specific video on the wide receiver room. So what do you guys think? Do you like my list? Do you not like my list? Is there somebody I'm missing out on that you think we could go after? What are your thoughts? Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you like my list or hate my list, all the above. As always, folks, Andrew, Bolt Bros. See you guys in the next one.
Hey, what's up? Cameron Dick here watching Bolt Bros podcast. Let's go.
Charged up, Bolt Bros on the night. LA Thunder and electric delight. Bolts in the battle, sparking bright. Charged up, ride the lightning, feel the fright.